This episode is brought to you by The Guarantors. Facing rising renter fraud? Don't let fraudulent applications compromise your financial stability. The Guarantors provide a safety net that protects your rent roll and minimizes bad debt. Why risk it? Talk to The Guarantors and secure your property's financial health. Visit theguarantors.com/multifamily today. Are you not entertained? So, where does that come from? That comes from the movie Gladiator. Russell Crowe, he was put in the gladiator arena and he slays the giant rather. And then at the end of that, he's holding up his sword. He has his mask on and he says, "Are you not entertained?" Or maybe it was in the first battle that he was in or gladiator arena before he made it to the big Colosseum in Rome. I was listening to, the reason this has come to mind for me this morning is that I have the great privilege of sitting on the Multifamily Innovation Council, and each Friday we meet. And if you want to learn more about that, definitely just Google Multifamily Innovation Council. It'll come up and click on it and just find the information there, or I'll link it up in the show notes. But great organization. It's led by Patrick Antrim. Today, his prompt for the day was training and some of the cognitive biases that we all hold as it relates to training. And one of the things that came to mind for me throughout the course of the conversation, I couldn't figure out how to articulate this in the moment, so I'm doing it post-meeting, but the statement was made many times in the meeting that training is just boring, and it's content, not necessarily delivery mechanisms or mediums that you use to advance the training. It is the content itself that is sometimes boring, but necessary in terms of hedging for risk in your organization, or making sure that policies and procedures and disciplines and routines are exercised throughout the organization in a very disciplined way, in a consistent way, so that the consumer wins, the team members win, the investors win, even the business partners that you use to help get your business done, even they win. So training must be consistent throughout the organization. But what is missing? What is the missing piece? In my head, the missing piece, and this came to me, it was validated came to me when I was having a conversation with Sydney Weber. I think I interviewed her for her podcast. She interviewed me for her podcast, all in the same session. So we spoke for nearly 2 hours straight one afternoon. And one of the things she said was that people like infotainment or edutainment, right? It's a play on words, but it's information linked with entertainment, or it's education linked with entertainment. And what is missing here is the attainment piece. People learn when they are put into emotional states. You have to get somebody in a state. Tony Robbins talks about all the great gurus as it relates to personal development or training. They will tell you have to get the mind primed to take in information. You have to elevate your emotion before you're going to get anything in here that imbues. Imbue meaning stays in there. Or imprints on the mind, or rewires the neural pathways. The only way you do that is through infotainment or edutainment, meaning you elevate emotion. You got to get people in the right frame of mind. You have to get them emotionally loaded. The best trainers, the best teachers, at least I'll speak from my own experience, the education or the information and the knowledge that I walked away with and held on to for the lion's share of my life has been in emotionally loaded situations, whether the teacher or the trainer or the coach or the mentor created that emotional state, and or it was a catalyst from the environment. Something happened in the environment, it elevated my emotion, and then all of a sudden there was a lesson, whether it come from the world or it came from an educator. They planted those seeds in that emotional state, and then guess what? I held on to it and I made application of it. I held on to those lessons and I made application of those lessons so that I ultimately became a successful career person or a successful life person. I walked through life a little bit easier because of those people who infotained me or edutained me. And that is the reason, if you think about it, that is the reason why the Instagrams and the TikToks, Facebooks, those platforms that we consume information from every day are entertaining us in some aspects, but you're walking away remembering things like one-liners from politicians or one-liners from whoever the latest influencers, one-liners, and you share those with your significant other, or you share those out into the world with your friends, or you repost them or whatever, but they stick here, right? It's no different with teaching and training and mentoring and coaching in organizations. And we'll talk about all of those statements. Like training is one thing, but mentoring, teaching, coaching, very different things, but all have the same end goal in mind. So there's my contribution: infotainment, edutainment. How do you factor that into your training department so that deliverer and content are both attainment, right? Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.